Stress affects me a lot. Other than like school stress, I have work stress, so everything just comes at me at once.
It's so stressful.
Because I haven't slept in days. I'm very stressed out, and it's taking a toll on me. I can definitely say I went from 160 pounds to 137 in 2 months. That's stress right there.
As I walked through the hallways during my senior year, as I observed the destructive behavior of my peers, as I sensed a lack of self-regard and self-esteem, I can't help but ask the question, where the future? Stress seems to be the plague of our generation that's slowly killing the free-spirited idea of what it means to be a teenager, leaving a zombie-like student in its place that strives for perfection and is willing to sacrifice themselves for it. Studies show that more than 1,000 teens associate stress with unhealthy behaviors. USA Today reported that teenagers in the United States were experiencing higher levels of stress than adults. Studies also concluded that it is school that is stressing teens out the most. Students are going to great measures to get good grades and compete with other students and eventually other countries.
How important are grades to you guys?
Very important, or my mom will beat my ass.
As a senior in my fourth quarter, I wouldn't say that important, but like through the majority of high school, it was really, really important to me.
Do your parents like pressure you about grades?
Yeah, they pressure me about grades. They don't really know like what I get in school. They know that I do well, and when I don't do well, it doesn't really matter. But like, it's more like pressure on myself for me.
They're like a pretty important thing in my life. I need to get good grades because I need to keep my scholarship for college.
Do your parents pressure you about grades?
Not pressure, but definitely push it and really enforce grades. It's like a really big thing in our house.
Do your parents pressure you about grades?
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely do. For me, personally, I come from a Nigerian background, first generation. Hey, West Africa, Niger. And for me, grades just isn't, there's no question about it. Get good grades. Yeah, my family definitely has a huge pressure factor, especially with my career path and being on the medical path. Obviously, for me, at the end of the day, it's what I like to do, but it just works out that I love science and math, but I just know that my family definitely has a part to play with my education and how important it is in my life.
A Stress in America survey states that many American teens report experiencing stress at unhealthy levels. They appear uncertain in their management techniques and experience symptoms of stress in numbers that are higher than adults. Some of the symptoms of stress included persistent irritability, anger, withdrawn behavior, and deviations from normal appetite or sleep patterns.
Alright, so stress basically, it's a negative effect. It causes a lot of anxiety, and with that anxiety, people look to turn to different things to relieve it. Whether it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be just negative company from individuals who might not be the best to be around.
Stress affects me in many ways. Not only do I have school stress, but I also have work stress. And how to manage with all that. Sometimes, like I said, I do have good study ethics and whatnot, but I can't really study that much for a test if I have to work a long shift the night before. So it affects me a lot in my grades and my sleeping cycle.
Sometimes I'll be stressing a lot if I have a lot of tests coming up or quizzes or just a lot of work that has to be done. There comes a point and then it all kind of hits me and I get really emotionally out of order, and like having a breakdown. I mean, nothing serious, but I get like really emotional breakdowns every once in a while.
Struggle is real out here in these streets. Right now, I can honestly say that I am. I'm growing so weary, just struggling. Because unlike other seniors, I decided to take a different route and put a little bit more work on myself during my senior year. But I say that I'm still hanging in there.
My IB tests, my IB like classes with like preparing for the SAT, college applications, like applying for scholarships, all that stuff.
Like personally, like what does the stress like do to you? Like how does stress affect you?
It makes me like really depressed. Like I feel like I don't know. I get like really depressed and I would want to like just like go out and like do something. Like I want to like go out and party, but I obviously can't. It's like really, it's like I don't want to care about school, but I do. So that's stressful.
Whenever you have some sort of stress, it also affects not just yourself, but the people around you. So your family, your friends, because you're trying to figure out a way to get away from that anxiousness. And ways that that people do this, they really turn to a negative lifestyle, and sometimes they can't come back from that. Whether it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be just negative company from individuals who might not be the best to be around.
Self-medicated in order to deal with stress.
No.
She takes it.
Honestly, like be honest.
No, she takes it.
No.
No, I don't. It's true. You want to.
Stop!
Her name is Imani Hite.
I didn't really ever find a point in taking, no offense, I never really found a point in taking drugs to focus. I feel like it's really all on you and your mentality, or if you're already prepared for it. Some people are just naturally smart, which I'm jealous of, but or some people can really actually focus off of drugs, but I never found a reason to even try them just to focus.
Have you ever like self-medicated in order to deal with certain stresses?
Oh yeah.
Do you have any like specific stories?
I mean, I mean like a lot of times after studying like all night, like I'll like go and like smoke weed. But that's like it's like self-medication, but like not really. I don't really think it's that bad of a habit.
Have you ever self-medicated in order to deal with stress?
Like what? You mean like drugs?
Yeah.
No.
You've never done drugs?
To cope with stress?
Yeah.
No, never.
Alright,
Actually. No, not to cope with stress. No.
but not to cope with stress, but to
Well, who's your teacher? I'm not talking about this shit and then getting in trouble. No, really.
I interviewed all your friends today.
Who's one of them?
Hmm?
I smoked weed, okay? Weed, okay?
To deal with
Is there an
stress?
issue? Yeah. And it helped. I was chilling.
From my personal experience, I can tell you that stress feels like a jail, slowly closing in on you. Some feel that the only key available to opening up that jail is drugs. Many of my classmates self-medicate in order to cope with that stress, unfortunately. And that's how our generation is being characterized. Numb, overworked kids just searching for that next high. Students not only use drugs recreationally, but they are now using them to do better in school. Adderall is a drug prescribed to treat ADHD, but lately, students have been using them to get a leg up in school by improving focus, concentration, and memory.
No, I mean, for the SAT, I took Adderall. That was pretty unhealthy. That's pretty much it.
I actually know somebody who took too much Adderall before a test, and then he took a shower and he dropped the shampoo bottle on the floor, and then he thought that he was bleeding out, but it was actually just conditioner. And he goes to a really private Catholic school, and it's like grades are really, really, really important, and yeah, so he crammed and it didn't really help him.
Myself, stay up till 4 a.m. in the morning doing studying. I think I've definitely heard of people just like like taking like drugs, like adrenaline pills, things like that to make them stay up longer, or to just keep them concentrated and focused. So I've heard of things like that before. Also, just like nothing that too crazy, just having like groups and parties, not parties, but like study groups, which are really essentially parties, but things like that to help them just like, or enhance their performance.
2 years ago,
Last week I was with my friends. They took too much Xannies and Pams and like hung out.
Wait, can you speak louder? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Can you say it louder? I can't hear you.
Xannies and Pams and blacked out and Pams. I went to the hospital.
I've seen her
Every day.
One of my followers was
Oh, my turn to talk. I've seen a student that goes to this school, probably top 10 in the class, wasted at a party to the point where he couldn't even stand up. Like he was just, you stood him up, hit the ground. Stood him up, eating the dirt. People are like throwing beer cans at him. It's awesome, right?
There is a lot of expectations for kids these days, a lot more than there was in the past, especially because of trying to compete with, you know, on a large scale, other countries, trying to compete with their classmates, trying to compete with, you know, themselves sometimes. I think it's just the matter of how it's handled today. There's a lot more technology that kind of helps. It's a blessing and a curse to have all this technology. It helps, but it also hurts, because with all the stress comes a lot of these expectations that, well, you should do better. And if you don't do better, it's sort of a self-esteem sort of issue that a lot of kids are, you know, they tend to quit a lot earlier because it seems to be easier to quit nowadays than it is, you know, back then when there wasn't as much pressure on someone.
Carl Greenfeld does an experiment where he does his 8th grade age daughter's homework for 2 weeks because he is concerned about the workload and his daughter's stress and lack of sleep. He was extremely stressed and struggled to finish her homework, which he later found she wasn't giving him all of. He began to smoke marijuana to deal with the stress and began to question why his daughter hasn't reverted to the same tactics. Another topic that has become an issue with students as a result of stress is self-mutilation. Usually self-injury leaves marks or causes tissue damage, and what seems to be such an extreme issue has become the norm. It's not uncommon to hear people cut or
Yeah, I
harm
know one time,
themselves.
I heard a lot of stories at Awareness Weekend. At Awareness Weekend, not really anything like personally to me.
Are you gonna tell it?
Oh yeah, just one, I'm not gonna mention names, but one kid
Of course not.
just got up there and said that they were having stress like at home, and their parents were like on top of everything, and they don't really even remember how it started. They just sort of started cutting themselves, and they got used to it and helped them deal with stress.
With stress comes a lot of, like I said, the expectations to do very well. And if that doesn't happen, self-esteem goes down. And a lot of times it could be, someone can resort to cutting themselves. Someone can resort to different eating disorders. Maybe if they feel that, you know, they don't look the certain part that somebody should. They can fall into anorexia, bulimia, perhaps that another way that they don't look like other people, maybe, you know, many tattoos, they'll get piercings, just a lot of different ways that they can harm themselves because of external factors that are going on.
Deal with stress, and ever since that, they've been cutting themselves, they've been getting help. This other girl in my group, actually, she like every time she like purges after she eats, like she became bulimic and anorexic, and it's an unhealthy habit for her, but she's also luckily trying to stop it.
So there's a girl that was in my regular class I never noticed, but we have gym together, and one day we were doing ballet and she put her arms up at the bar and like there was these really, really huge gashes on her wrist, but she didn't really seem like she was trying to hide it, which I don't really know why she wouldn't want to try to hide it, or maybe it's more about the cry for help, but.
Did you talk to her about it?
No.
Why?
It's not my business.
You just a cry for help.
She has a friend that she talks to all the time.
So?
That one friend.
You're a bad person.
No, I'll tell the teacher, but then what if I tell the teacher and then she gets mad tight or something like that?
You can be saving her life, Chrissy.
Well, maybe maybe I will tell the teacher then.
I know some people, like I know some friends that cut because of sports that keep them up and they didn't study for a test, so that's why they cut. I don't know any other person really that cuts just because they're stressed. But I haven't. I've only cut like twice, but that's because I want to eat food.
Stress. A 5-letter word of destruction with a magnitude strong enough to affect even the most grounded of students. So before you judge this generation for its faults, look at all they have accomplished and all they are overcoming.
I just know a lot of people that like drink and like take like ecstasy and stuff like that. But on the weekends, like after they get all their schoolwork done, like the moment like the weekend hits, like they just like you have to let it all out.
Do you notice like your friends are stressed?
Yeah, all my friends are stressed. Everyone's always stressed.
Imani Hite, I love you. Put that in the documentary.
Class of 2014.
You already know.
Yes.